Welcome into this week at the Dirty Pocket. I am joined by my partner in crime, the scout, Daniel Kelly, future general manager in the NFL. My friend, how is it out in Key West? How are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing really well. All in all, this last week, I'm kind of excited, Stacy, because and to our listeners, because a really big thing happened in Key West this week, and that is the humidity lifted.
Uh, Does the
That's a big
humidity?
deal.
I didn't think humidity ever lifted in
It
Florida.
lifts.
That's a
Actually,
thing.
there's about six. Yeah, it's actually something you can feel in the air. It's an overnight thing. And for 6 months, it was so incredibly humid down here. It's like you took two showers, one when you took the shower inside the bathroom and one when you walked outside the door. And but no more. It's gone. Now these next 6 months will be beautiful. Will be great. I mean, Florida without humidity is like being in the Super Bowl every day.
Oh man, I love Florida, as you know.
It's
It's been a
beautiful.
while. Yeah, I used to go down to Miami. I've been to Tampa for business in past lives, and also Orlando, which I really like. Although that's grown a lot in through there. But
Mhm.
your area of the country, I've never actually got down into the Keys, so that's a goal for
Oh,
me. I love the tropics. I've
oh,
lived there
it's
the rest of my life.
fantastic. I mean, Key West, this is where Mike Leach is from.
God
It's
love Mike
from
Leach.
Key West. Absolutely. I mean, his dream was to be the head coach at Key West High School. He's from down here. We have all sorts of people. We have Jimmy Buffett, the music for our music fans out there. We have Taylor Swift and Kenny Chesney of recording studios right outside Key West. You know, there's all
Nice.
sorts of famous people who come down here. I mean, we ran into I think one of the drummers from U2, and he was telling us stories about how he hung out with Princess Diana and stuff back in the day. So I mean, there's all sorts of people down here you run into. And matter of fact, Shad Khan, he's the Jacksonville Jaguars, had him wearing his $220 million yacht went right past my wife Samantha and I on the water. We were out on a boat, and his $220 million yacht Kismet went right directly past us. I did a little selfie, a little shot. And because I had told my wife, I said, I have a feeling that how I'm going to become an NFL GM is going to happen in Key West. We're going to be sitting at one of these bars somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to say something. And next thing you know, I'm going to turn around and there's Jerry Jones sitting at the bar listening to some Jimmy Buffett music. I mean, something's going to happen where it's just one of those things that's going to come into my past. So when we saw Mr. Khan's yacht, I said, it's like an Easter egg hunt. We're getting hot. We're
Uh,
getting warmer. We're getting warmer.
you got to be a celebrity, man. Apparently, you're a celebrity. I feel like I'm listening to a TMZ story. Like people are. You got U2 and Shad Khan, and that it's crazy. I absolutely love that area.
It's
I
beautiful.
miss going
It's
to the
incredible.
tropics.
It's a 4 by 2 mile island surrounded by water. And we're in the middle. I mean, we're like a pinhead on, if you look at the map, just in the middle of the ocean out there. We're closer actually to Cuba than we are to a Walmart, if that puts things in perspective.
I got to tell you, man, that should be a bumper sticker. Closer to Cuba than a Walmart. Oh my,
Absolutely, absolutely. It sounds like a Forrest Gump moment. It really does.
that's awesome. That is awesome, man. Well, hey, congrats on the humidity
Hey,
or lack
thank you.
thereov.
And the
Uh,
hurricane threat kind of goes away too. That's another nice thing, because any second, all of a sudden, it's like we're like one of those dartboards in a bar. Anytime these storms start moving towards us, who knows what's going to happen. So that's past us too. So for the next 6 months, it's just kind of like chill out, relax, no humidity. It's awesome.
God, I love it. I love it, man. I'm jealous. I'm in earthquake country and it's gray and pouring down rain. So welcome to autumn, fall, winter in the Pacific Northwest. Wild. Okay, so tradition. I got to say, I'm dry tonight. I do not have a drink, but Daniel Kelly, what are we drinking here in episode 9 of the Dirty Pocket?
Well, this show is brought to you by let's see, the Golden
Oh,
Arches.
Ray Kroc and his buddies,
Hey,
McDonald's.
hey, absolutely. The no question about it with Ronald McDonald having a little Coke. And let me tell you guys something. There's truth to the story that there's something different about McDonald's Coke. It tastes way different, right? I mean, you can attest to that, right?
God, no, I got to tell you, the legend with McDonald's is that if you want water, they always put it out of the orange soda tap. So
Yes.
you're drinking water and you get kind of that slightly orange taste to
A
it.
little bit, yeah, a little bit of orange. Now, I gotta tell one more quick story. The reason why I have this beautiful drink is because I got myself a McRib sandwich tonight. One of my favorite things in the world for a bedtime, nighttime snack. I mean, it's past midnight out here. I mean, I'll put a McRib down. I'll put a McRib down at 11:30 with some nice fries, some hot mustard sauce, with a nice, large Coke. I mean, it's but that's why I have that, because the McRib is back. The McRib is something that only comes back once in a while, right? It's a very limited type of thing that they have. But when it comes back, we have a friend that actually gets like 30 or 40 of them during the month of this month, because they only come back for it. So he goes there every day and like eats 2-3 of them at a time. I mean, it's a big deal down here in Key West. I'm telling you, Stacy.
Geez, man, who would have ever thought the McDonald's McRib is similar to the Starbucks pumpkin spice? It's a seasonal joy that only Daniel Kelly can enjoy, apparently. Very nice, man. McRibs, and no humidity. So I guess that's it. This episode's over. You've hit paradise, and there's nothing left to talk about now.
Absolutely, it's like manna from heaven. McRib sandwiches, absolutely.
God, I love it. Okay, so let's shift to talking some football. We're gored up on McRibs and McDonald's Bizarro Coke. Hey, nothing happened this week, right? In football, nothing happened this week. We had this thing called the NFL trade deadline. We've had just a disgusting tragedy that we've agreed we're just not going to talk about that crap on this show. Henry Ruggs and that disaster in Las Vegas, and that poor girl and her family. May our prayers go out to them. Just ridiculous. We're not going to go down that road. So let's talk about the game itself and the trade deadline. So in your opinion, kind of uneventful?
Well, it typically is. I mean, going back to the time I was a little boy, the trade deadline every year has been pretty uneventful. I think as the media and social media has evolved, I think there's a lot of people that blow smoke and from different camps. I think a lot of agents try to use the social media and their buddies at these different media outlets we see online to try to create some stories where there are none, to try to create leverage. And so I think we hear a lot of things about possible trades, but they just don't materialize. I think it's a lot of just drama. And I think it's something where, it's just a lot of, it's a way kind of keep your name relevant. I think that's what happened here with Deshaun Watson. Is I think his camp, I wrote an article, which I shared with you tonight, Stacy, on August the 30th on Draft Diamonds. And I emphatically said Deshaun Watson will not be traded. I was probably one of the only, if not the only voice in America saying this. Everybody and their brother thought Deshaun Watson was going to, to a number of different places, Washington mainly, and of course Miami. But emphatically, I was just like, there's no way in anybody's reality that Nick Caserio, the new general manager of the Houston Texans, is going to trade Deshaun Watson into Bill Belichick's division when Belichick's the guy that recommended Nick Caserio for the job down in Houston. There was no way he was going to trade somebody like that within the division. That Miami thing never had a chance. And why the owner of the Miami Dolphins, I see the story this week that says that he voted, in favor of, or however it was termed, he signed off on a trade for Deshaun Watson. What are you doing? I don't understand this, because you have Tua, there's your quarterback, and the Miami Dolphins have done everything in their power to undermine Tua and to come against him, and they say the team isn't for him. And I mean, why? I don't understand this. And when now I don't know the truth or validity to the story that was reported, but if you have a team and they're saying that ownership is signing off on a trade that doesn't happen, where do you go from there?
God, that's such a weird story. I agree with you, man. And for me to hear that he's doing that, and you got Brian Flores going, Tua's our quarterback. Come on, we've seen this before. It's from a book. You all read it. Just keep saying it until we believe it. None of us believe it. But what's the impact to Tua after this? Despite the fact that Deshaun's not gone, you hear that the ownership team is actually sitting, talking to Deshaun Watson, who, by the way, folks, has 22 civil suits and 10 criminal suits against him. Like, you're Tua going, I'm a pretty good guy. I'm in year 2, but you'd rather talk to him. I just don't see that situation down there as being a positive. It just looks like a hot mess.
It is a hot mess. Miami knew what they were getting into when they drafted him in the first round. They knew he was coming off the major injury and everything like that. I went back on film. For Draft Diamonds this past year, I said that, Miami's got it's got the next best quarterback, the Dan Marino, right there in Tua, and the media down there just grills Tua. I think there was I think his first practice during a mini camp or something in a driving rainstorm, he had like 6 interceptions, and they just about verbally crucified the guy. I'm like, this is your quarterback. What are you doing? And they're like, well, the team doesn't really. So I went back and watched him last season on film. The guy looks pretty darn good. He looks far better than Zach Wilson, far better than Trey Lance, far better than Trevor Lawrence did in his rookie season. He put up some decent, somewhat impressive stats. He looked decent. He looked good. And they just keep coming against this guy. It's like what they did to Tebow in Denver. How many young playoff winning quarterbacks have I ever seen get driven out of a team like Tebow got driven out of Denver? Why? Because it was John Elway's city and he couldn't handle somebody else in the spotlight besides, this one's for John. What happened there in Denver is a very similar thing we're seeing happen in Miami. And no matter what Tua does, he can't seem to fit into that situation. And they want to drive him out, and they wanted Watson so badly down there. And it's like, why? Why do you? Tua is your guy, and I don't know. I'm a loss for words. I'm talking aloud here, but it just does not make any sense to me, Stacey, whatsoever.
Yeah, it's bonkers. I'm going to watch it the rest of this year. One of the surprises for me at the trade deadline that there was a couple of guys I was looking that were probably going to get moved. I really thought Brandon Cooks would be out of Houston. He's probably their best player at this point. And he was not happy about Mark Ingram getting traded back to the Saints and was very open about it. I was also a little surprised Marcus Mariota with the Raiders didn't find a new home. I thought there was a possibility. I thought maybe Cleveland would come knocking with Baker nursing that bad shoulder. But I agree. It was pretty uneventful. The Deshaun Watson thing seemed to semi-dominate, like everybody's waiting for this to happen. But I got to tell you, I thought about it too. I thought my guy Daniel Kelly wrote about this weeks ago and said it ain't never going to happen. Get over it. And it didn't. It was so anticlimactic. So now let's move to something that I think is very climactic. What a great word.
Absolutely. Hey.
And I know you know what's coming. And now I have an excuse to do it. Von Miller is a Los Angeles Ram. How do we feel about that, Mr. Kelly, GM Kelly?
Well, on this unofficial Rams pregame show,
oh, come on.
I knew we'd have to fit this in there look, guys, look at that wall. Look at the young blood and all the, is that Nolan Cromwell up there? I
Nolan
think.
Cromwell. You can't see Falk, Dickerson, Warner.
I can see it. I see something, believe it.
Guys.
I can see a Dickerson picture. It looks like,
oh, yeah.
Obviously you want to talk about Von Miller.
It was come on, let's be honest. Aside from my complete bias towards my guys in Los Angeles, it was the biggest trade of the day. Nothing else happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing else.
Absolutely. The Rams are poised to make a run. It was a good move for the Rams. I think Stafford's got them heading the right direction. They have a lot of positives right now, and Von Miller can only help them on defense. It's going to be a plus for them. They're kind of in a stage right now where they need to win now with the team that they've built, and I think they did the assessment in the front office. And they said, "Hey, do we want to wait on a draft choice for a year or two, come along, or should we just go ahead and do this now?" Because one thing I know about veterans is they have experience, and there's no substitute for experience. There's a little tricks to the trade that Von Miller will know that nobody else, in the draft coming out will know. There's techniques he'll know, and I think it's going to help the Rams in the long run.
Yeah, I love it, man. Good assessment. I got to tell you, I'm going to admit something to you. I'm a little torn on this one. I wasn't as excited as the typical fan in the Rams fan base. I'm a little concerned about his age. I think that he does have some left in the pocket, but he's had some injuries. Just had an injury a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
And I think he was completely blindsided by this trade. Although I think if he wants to prolong his career, playing next to Aaron Donald cannot hurt.
Right.
But I got to tell you, man, the old school guy in me continues to struggle a little bit with the way Les Snead handles giving away draft picks. I mean, we gave away a second and a third. So that means that next year's draft, which is like an annual holiday at my house, we're going to do our own draft show, you and I.
Let's
But
go.
we don't have a first, we don't have a second, we don't have a third, we don't have a fourth or a sixth. And this is something that now a pattern. So to your point, we better win now. Von
Right.
Miller better tear it up. And I thought Leonard Floyd was having an awesome year next to Donald. So I'm excited, but there's some trepidation with me on this one. I recognize that, look, we want to do what the Bucs did, which is win a Super Bowl in our stadium, SoFi, this year. So I think the Rams are all in. They're just pushing the chips out there. Check back with me in 2024, 2025. I might be a grown man crying on this show because my team is, 2-15 every year. I don't know, but
Well, you got tissue. You got those jerseys up there.
Okay, now, okay, come on. Smithsonian wants a piece of that action. Those are my guys. Those are my guys.
I know, it was playing.
So good take on Von Miller. Let's switch gears like we do in this dirty pocket that we
That's
live
right.
in.
Coming off the edge, baby. Coming off the edge.
Coming off the edge. I'm going to throw something at you that has been a pet subject of yours for several weeks now. I know how much you love Aaron Rodgers and would like him to run your team in a perfect world. Not true. He is now tested positive for COVID, and we're going to get a look at your guy, Jordan Love, this weekend.
Yes.
What say you? Because I know that you're kind of bullish on Mr. Love. You think there's some talent there, not in love with Aaron Rodgers like I am.
You got to play on words going here. You got Rodgers, Love. You're using these words kind of interchangeably.
It's all about semantics, man. Yeah,
or climatics, or whatever you say.
Climactic, climax.
Yeah. We're making up words tonight.
All kinds. It's late. What the hell? What happens if Jordan Love just tears it up this weekend? I know what you're going to be doing. You're going to be going, I told you so. Are Packers fans going to rejoice? Like, okay, Rodgers, if you want to move on in a few weeks after the playoffs, that's fine. We got Jordan. What do we expect to see here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was kind of, nonchalant. I was kind of like him and Han about Jordan. No, I didn't. I wasn't. No, I wasn't, Sam. I am green eggs and ham. I said Jordan Love can lead the Green Bay Packers to the Super Bowl. I don't mince words. I was the first guy in America saying it. Jordan Love, he's got that look in the preseason. I think it's a great draft pick by the Packers. I know they came under a lot of fire. Brian Gutekunst came under a lot of fire. This is a very good player. This is a great draft pick. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. I like the mobility. He makes quick decisions. He got a nice arm. He's just got a way about him in the pocket. And me, if I had been the GM of the Green Bay Packers, like I said, I would have cut Rodgers the night he came off the field, the NFC Championship game, and gone with Jordan Love the whole time. So this is yesterday's newspaper to me. Rodgers has been. I'm not sold on Rodgers. Everyone says, "Oh, he's 7-1." I was so critical of Aaron Rodgers in the offseason. I think he did everything in his power to undermine the Green Bay Packers organization from a free agency standpoint. He discouraged free agents from signing in Green Bay. He tried to undermine the general manager's position. He tried to do a lot of different things that were not too cool. And I really think that he's going to pull the plug in the Packers in the long run. I think he's got a revenge factor in him that he's not going to look too good all of a sudden in a playoff game. So you better get used to Jordan Love because, when the chips are down the table, Aaron Rodgers may be benched like he almost was against he was for a little bit against the Saints in the first game of the season, and all of a sudden you may see Jordan Love in the playoffs for the Green Bay Packers. I think it's a great move, I'm excited to see what happens with him this weekend. And Aaron Rodgers. When I hear rumors that he might be traded somewhere, I'm like, cut him, ban him from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Get him out of here.
Oh man.
Yeah, no. I mean, anytime somebody tries to undermine an organization and tries to pull a coup, there's no room for him in the game, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm like you. I'm old school too. I don't agree with some of the ways he went about that, but
yeah, the infomercial, the press conference with the infomercial,
oh,
when he's got a list of players he's reading off and what he thinks should have been done, and then bringing Cobb back, and the general manager gets on there and says, "Well, it's probably not a move we would have made unless Aaron had the guy." I mean, come on. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. I mean, the guy is trying to become the next John Elway. The guy wants to move into the Packers GM position when his career is over, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He hasn't been invited to the table. He's trying to invite himself to the table, but he's not a good talent evaluator. He'll never be a general manager as much as he tries to.
Yeah, I got a feeling
I'll get the job before he does.
There you go. You heard it here first. Daniel Kelly, GM, will before Aaron Rodgers. I don't even know if Rodgers is going to stick to football when he leaves. I could I could see him going into movies, dude. I could see him doing something like that. Like, I'm going to be the host of a game show or do movies with my wife, or
I could see him going to Chicago and scream at the Bears fans again.
God, that was wild, wasn't it?
That was weird too.
That was wild. Okay, shifting gears yet again. Boom, boom, boom. In the pocket we go. Are the Lions going to win a game this year? I'm looking ahead at their schedule, and the Falcons on December 26th look like the best possibility. Other than that, I don't think they win.
No.
You?
No.
Yeah, I think they're dead. I think they're in big, big trouble.
Well,
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but you and I exchanged some notes, and you tweeted and whatnot that Jared Goff is done. I don't want to make this a Jared Goff show. We've talked about that, but
yeah, you do.
Yeah, I really don't anymore. I got to tell you, I'm over it. I feel bad for him, really bad for him as Stafford tears the league up and he's over there just looking terrible. But
that's not that didn't age too well, as they say on social media.
Did not age well. Throwing the ball out of bounds on fourth down a couple times is just gut-wrenching to watch. So,
well, the eyes, you can read a quarterback. We talked about this before on previous shows. The eyes, his eyes on, in that game against Philadelphia, he looked, there's an article I have coming out tomorrow morning for Sports Illustrated Detroit Lions. I talk about his eyes. His eyes looked sad. They looked dejected. He looked kind of like hopeless. He looked, he looked like, oh, here we go. Like, he looked like he was just checked out. His eyes look kind of glazed over. Once that happens, they're done. They're done. It doesn't matter. It's a $25 million waste of money, and it's not good. Until they cut him, bench him, or trade him, they may not win a game, period. I don't just mean this season.
No.
It doesn't really matter what they do going forward. And not only that, but with the Detroit Lions, I was talking to somebody this week. Philosophically, they don't make any sense. And what I mean by that is they had the 32nd ranked pass defense last year. They return all the starters from the 32nd ranked pass defense. Then they go hire Anthony Lynn with the Chargers. They bring him in. He's a renowned running offensive coordinator. Okay, so you have the worst pass defense coming back. You hire an offensive coordinator that likes to run the ball. Do you see a problem with this? And then they go ahead and they have the receivers. They let Kenny Golladay walk to the Giants. I wasn't a big Kenny Golladay fan ever to begin with, but I gave him a B grade. I mean, he was better than anything they got there now. But they let him walk, and then they try to replace him with a number 3 receiver at best on most teams, in Amon-Ra St. Brown. They draft him in the 5th round. They think they're going to replace Golladay with the St. Brown character. And what did the Lions management do? They talk about all this change in culture. Well, guess what, folks? When you sign a bunch of street free agents, undrafted free agents, and fringe tier 2 free agents and free agency, like Dean Marlowe, the safety from the Buffalo Bills, who I gave a C grade to. You bring in these guys like Jerry Jacobs, Bobby Price, they're undrafted free agents. You start them at corner. You bring in these different people at receiver. This Trinity Benson guy they traded for was basically Denver was going to cut if they didn't trade for him.
Kadarrell Hodge. Don't forget about Kadarrell Hodge is in there.
I mean, that's my point. And then you have Khalif Raymond. These are fringe players.
They're not making most teams.
People in Detroit are saying the receivers aren't running good enough routes. Guess what, folks? These are, back in the day when I was growing up, there was a word for guys like this. It was called campfire. These guys were guys, you remember that terminology? Yeah. Campfire. I mean, that's what I grew up with, okay? They bring guys in, there are bodies, right? The guys that just can play. They're in the 80-man roster. They're going to get cut. There's not a snowball's chance in Key West that they're going to make the team, right? With the humidity. There's no chance. And these are the guys they gave Goff to throw to. No wonder Hawkinson's a top receiver on this team. No wonder a guy like DeAndre Swift is a number 2 receiver on this team. No wonder, because they didn't give any receivers to throw to. So when we talk about Detroit, we unpack their mess or try to, it starts and ends with, when you're in a pass-happy league in the National Football League and you do nothing to address your secondary and you do nothing to address your wide receivers, and then you bring in a quarterback whose confidence is like this all the time, up and down like a roller coaster for $25 million a year. And they're saddled with Goff. They're stuck. They're stuck with Goff. Yeah, his free agency, I looked at his contract today. It runs out 2024. They got $25 million a year going to a guy who looks like a deer in headlights under center. I mean, this is bad news for the Detroit Lions. And their offensive line is in a shambles. Philadelphia looked like they were on a jailbreak coming at Goff last week. Very bad. And there was our boy again. There was our boy, Penei Sewell, giving up that giving up that heat, giving up that pressure to the B gap. There he was, front and center. There he was. I mean, this is a mess. And that's not, and then they changed their philosophy on defense to a 34 defense. They're not getting pressure in the quarterback. Their second and third round draft choices they had for defensive linemen have under 37% snap count for the year. The 2 best, most athletic, fastest pass rushers they have like 25 or less % snap count, in Austin Bryant and Julian Okwara. They're not putting the people in the game that should be in the game. They're highlighting this Anzalone guy who thinks they're so good, and it's a mess. It's a train wreck. I will be surprised. Okay, you heard it here first. Okay, I mean, I said Deshaun Watson wasn't going anywhere. I said Trey Lance and Zach Wilson were awful. I said Trevor Lawrence was too. You heard it here first. I don't think Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell survived this.
That is a hot take, because I think a lot of people are giving them a lot of rope right now, because they're both respected, likable guys who mean well, but they're in the Detroit Lion meat grinding machine now, where everybody goes in with hope.
You know what? Let me tell you something. I could win the Super Bowl in Detroit next year. I'm willing to walk up to the podium in Detroit and declare the Detroit Lions a Super Bowl 57 champions right off the bat. It doesn't take, I wrote an article about this, Draft Diamonds. Okay. I can do what nobody in the history of the NFL has been able to do in 56 Super Bowls. I can go in there win. This does not take 2, 3, 4 years. This does not, I mean, philosophically, these guys, they talk about change of culture, but they have not proven they know anything about how to build a team. And what's happening is, I'll say it right here in the Dirty Pocket podcast, they have done more to help your team, the Rams, than they have helped the Detroit Lions.
I got to tell you, folks, if there was ever a stronger endorsement for the McRib sandwich and McDonald's Coca-Cola than Daniel Kelly's hot takes after midnight from the Florida Keys, I don't know what it is. You heard it here first. That is awesome.
I mean, let's talk about this just for, can we talk about this one more second?
Of course.
Okay, let's look at this for a second, okay? Okay, now we all know Dan Campbell's mentor is Bill Parcells. Okay, let me let everybody on a secret. I was hired by Bill Parcells. I was there with Bill Parcells. My office was 2 doors down from him, okay? I understand the dynamics. And when you talk about coming from a Bill Parcells program, let's go back to the 1980s for a moment. You and I remember the 1980s, Stacey, and I'm sure some of our watchers and listeners remember the 1980s. The 1980s Giants were Joe Morris, were O.J. Anderson. They were 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Pound the ball. And guess what? They're not pounding the ball. It's too cute. They're trying to do all these cute little things.
Yep.
They get away from the run. They should have gone into Green Bay when they were up at halftime. They should have gone into that Green Bay game. It was a no-brainer. They should have fed the ball to Jamal Williams 30, 35 times. Jamal wanted nothing more than to show his old team up and say, you guys made a mistake with me. They didn't do that. They got cute. They tried to do this. They tried to do that. It's not working. They don't philosophically even line up with a Bill Parcells team. Bill Parcells was about smash mouth football. This is a cute, finesse team that can't stop anybody. And on defense, they're reactive. They're tentative. They don't attack. They don't nearly have enough aggression. It's like watching Lions play. They have no teeth.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to argue with you. Certainly not the fans in Detroit who have to sit through that crap every weekend. The last 2 games have just been brutal. I'll tell you the guy that I think is going to come out of this looking good with some experience. He's going to have some scars, and you just touched on the defense. I think Aaron Glenn has hope as a coordinator. I really see he's got nothing to work with.
Aaron Glenn's done a nice job.
Yeah.
Let me interject that because
really
they've gotten better from a pass rushing standpoint. They have improved from a defensive. I think their secondary is now ranked, I think, like 22nd instead of 32nd. Schematically, Aaron Glenn has done a nice job, to your point.
Yeah, I think he's done a really nice job. And I think you and I agree on this thing a little bit in that I like Dan Campbell and I like those old school guys. I did a podcast on that for Gridiron Icon about him and Tomlin over the last couple of weeks. I like those old school guys. I think Campbell's still learning. I think, my God, if he can come out of this, I don't think he ever envisioned going 0-7, 0-8. And I'm looking at their schedule. They got the Steelers, the Browns, the Bears, the Vikings, the Cardinals twice. I'm looking at that Falcons game going, maybe. I mean, that's might be their best shot at getting a W this year. I got to tell you, as a guy, I know you're embedded there with a Sports Illustrated covering the Lions. It's got to be painful to watch. And as a guy who was a former GM, you're looking at these trades they've made. You're looking at these salary dumps and all this stuff attached to them, and you go,
Michael Brockers is another one. He wouldn't take the pay cut with the Rams, so the Lions took him on. I mean, he couldn't get to the quarterback there. What makes him think he's going to get to the quarterback in Detroit?
I got to tell you, I love Brock as a person. I think he's missed in that locker room. Good guy. I'm not going to sit here and lie, and God forbid we ever get him on the show. He'll probably want to kill me. I just never fell in love with his game. Now Donald will say he just gobbles up blockers and lets AD run wild when he's a Ram. But now I'm watching him in Detroit, and I'm not sure he really wants to play football anymore.
Yeah, it's well, let's put it this way. When you watch a Lions game, unless I say his name on the show, you don't even hear his name.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, against the Rams, I thought, he's going to try to, he knows those offensive linemen. He's practiced against them for 8-9 years. He was invisible. We didn't hear anything about him. So, yeah, I think that there's some issues there. I was a little surprised.
The whole thing is an issue.
Yeah, it really is. I was surprised the Lions didn't make a play for a receiver like a Brandon Cooks, reteam him with Jared Goff, or Josh Reynolds, who's been a bust in Tennessee, reteam him with Jared Goff, somebody he knows, help Goff out. But I think they're looking at the season going, it's a wash. It's over.
Well, even like Josh Gordon being reinstated.
Good point.
Here's a classic example. Okay, Josh Gordon's looking for his 18th chance in the National Football League, right? Okay,
it's amazing, actually.
It is amazing, but he's back. Josh Gordon, okay. Now, my wife Samantha and I got into this a little bit because she was going to be, when I went for the GM's job with the Cleveland Browns at 17, she was going to be my co-GM. And so we had this whole big conversation back and forth about Josh Gordon. She's like, I don't think we should sign him. I'm like, listen, Josh Gordon has more talent in his pinky than most wide receivers have in their entire bodies in the National Football League. And if you're the Detroit Lions and you're serious, you're very serious about this investment in this trade you made for Jared Goff, get somebody like Josh. What do you have to lose? Get somebody like Josh Gordon in there, because I'm telling you, they give him these garbage free agent fringe players and expect him to do something with that is just unreal. I have never seen. I mean, it's like I've never seen a quarterback who's more accomplished. I mean, Goff is accomplished. Okay, let's face the reality. He made the Super Bowl. You bring him in there and you give him guys that are basically off the waiver wire to throw the ball to. It's unbelievable. And you
Yeah.
want to talk about change of culture? I don't, what are you going to do? Put signs up in the hallway, put plants up in the corners of the office? What do you mean by change the culture? You change the culture by building a championship roster. That's how you change a culture. And when you bring somebody in like Goff, and you give them no weapons to throw to, it just makes no sense. It just nothing Detroit. The only thing Detroit Lions have done that make a lot of sense to me, the Aaron Glenn thing makes a lot of sense. I like Aaron. Aaron was a corner when I was with the Jets. I like Aaron. The Jamal Williams signing makes a lot of sense. I think they have a back with that kind of physicality in the NFC North. I think makes a lot of sense. But outside of that, Hawkinson makes sense. The linebacker, Derek Barnes makes sense. Outside of that, I mean, Trey Flowers, I'm a fan of his. Outside of that, nothing they're doing makes any sense whatsoever. I mean, when guys leave your team and they go other place and become superstars, that is a bad look. Look at Darius Slay. Yeah. Last week. I mean, he's waltzing around the end zone. He looks like a superstar compared to what they have at corner. They let him walk away.
Yeah. Look at Matthew Stafford.
Look at Stafford.
I mean, Stafford would not even win, and we've seen it for years, so it's not a bold statement. He wouldn't win with that roster. He'd be getting killed. He'd probably be hurt by now. You know, I mean, it's just so bad, to your point, that, yeah, I get why people are picking on Jared. He's made some blunders, but I'm also looking at him going, my God, it's like they threw him a high school varsity team out there and said, go win. Well, I mean, it's just brutal.
It is. In what sense I understand Taylor Decker's hurt right now, but what sense did it make at number 7 overall to draft Penei Sewell, who was a left tackle at Oregon? And when you already have a left tackle, you committed $40-some million to just a few months before that. That didn't make any sense either. They could have gone out and got one of these receivers or traded up and try to trade up and get Waddle or take a Devontae Smith that's having a nice season or try to trade up and get a Kyle Pitts and go 2 tight end. They could have had an awesome. I mean, they had a Hawkinson and Pitts at tight end. Can you imagine that? You know, it would have been like the old Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez connection in New England. You would dominate the seams, but there's no imagination. You go get 3 linemen, offensive, defensive linemen in the first few rounds of the draft. It's just it's mind blowing. I mean, nothing they've done makes sense. Even before this regime got here, they brought in that Big V, the guy from Philadelphia, and tried to plug him at a right tackle. I said in my free agent report in 2019, there's no way this guy has the lateral foot speed to play right tackle in the National Football League. They brought him in, paid him around $40-50 million. Within 2-3 weeks, they figured out the guy was a guard.
Yeah, kicked him inside. Yeah. And you could tell a million stories like that. We can't even talk about the draft with the Lions because they could have had Mac Jones. They could have had Patrick Surtain. They could have. There's just so many ways. You think they'd really start slobbering at the mouth to get that linebacker kid out of Notre Dame that's playing for the Cleveland Browns now? That's easily the steal of the draft at this point, outside of Rashawn Slater,
who I said is going to be the best coverage linebacker in the NFL.
Yeah, he's a star. He's a star. So, wow, deep Detroit Lions talk, and I love it because I'm so fascinated. When you're so bad, you've got to find a way out of that nightmare, and I'm not sure they know what it is. I'm going to drop a teaser here because there isn't time this week, but as we move forward, Daniel and I are going to spend some time, particularly Daniel, breaking down the college quarterbacks coming out. And I know that we have been wanting to talk about Kenny Pickett for a couple of weeks. You have a fantastic article on NFL Draft Diamonds about him. Folks, go check that out. And I think either next week, and we're talking here at the Dirty Pocket about making additional shows weekly because we've got so many things to share, that next week we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these college quarterbacks. And I got a sneaking suspicion it won't be McDonald's, Coke, and a McRib, and there'll be a few opinions to be had about these guys, folks. So tune in for that. Before we go this week, as we close, just a couple of this week's picks. The Packers and the Chiefs, Jordan Love and Patrick Mahomes. Who do you like?
Jordan Love.
God, he's staying solid with that guy.
Well, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, he came off a concussion protocol in about 2 hours, didn't he?
That was fascinating. He looked absolutely slobbered knocked too. I mean, that was one of those moments where you're going, what are they doing? he should not be coming back in this game.
He looked punch drunk.
He
and that's
looked
why I talked
just
about, and that's why I talked about my article about draft time. Is, we've talked in previous shows about Patrick Mahomes' eyes, and what I said about his eyes in the Super Bowl, that I knew the game was lost before the game even began, and which I posted on Facebook. And it's in his eyes. And a matter of fact, it's fascinating because on the article I have a little clip from Twitter that shows the commentator during the game said, when against the Cleveland Browns last year in the playoffs, when he got knocked silly, the guy says, "Oh my gosh, you can see it in his eyes." Is what the commentator said on CBS.
Interesting.
And so it's in his eyes. I think something happened on the hit that God forbid something happened internally that he hasn't recovered from in the offseason, hasn't continued to. And right now, to me, watching Patrick Mahomes on the field is like watching a fighter they should have called the fight for, but he's still out there and still getting hit in the head. And I think this is going to get really scary and really dangerous very quickly.
God, that's ugly. And he's also popping up in the background in these ridiculous TikTok videos with his wife and brother, which is, I continue to say, is just a ridiculous distraction for a guy with that much talent. Just stupid.
Yeah, don't go Dwayne Haskins on us, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh man, oh God, that's brutal. That's a subject for a show we want to cover too, because it's Big Ben nears the end. We got questions. Okay, sticking to our picks as we close out this week. Browns, Bengals, Battle of Ohio, Mayfield with one arm versus Joe Burrow. Who do you like in this game?
Bengals.
I mean, do you like the Bengals? I mean, they kind of laid an egg last week.
Joe Burrow. I like Joe Burrow a lot. I think he's got a lot of killer. I think he's got a lot of killer instinct. He's got a real sharp edge to him and a lot of swag. That young receiver they got out there with Jamar Chase, and they got some weapons out there. I don't know. I just think the Bengals are going to take this one.
Yeah, I love Burrow. I think him and Herbert are the stars of the future in this league. They'll rise to the top of what already is a really nice group of quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, coming up over the next few years. I wish I had another hour because I just have a feeling you have an opinion on the Bengals taking Jamar Chase over the Penei Sewell pick for the Detroit Lions at 5. I got a feeling you've got an opinion on that, but I think we're just going to go with your pick in the interest of time. Because Chase is looking like the rookie of the year. I mean, he's looking dynamic out there. I too like the Bengals. I think we're nearing the end of Baker Mayfield's time in Cleveland. I think he's scrappier, and I like him better than most. But I just don't know if he can get him over the hump. And I like Baker, so I don't know. Interesting things there to be seen. So you're picking the Packers. I'm picking the Chiefs. And we're both going Bengals. So there you go, folks. There's our two rock solid picks. Bet your life on them. We're always right. No, please don't do that. But there's our picks for this week. Hey, folks, follow us, subscribe at The Dirty Pocket. You can find us on Twitter. We've got hot takes. We talk a lot about some of the connections Daniel has with some of his articles and some of the teams he covers. So find us there at The Dirty Pocket Pod. Find us on Instagram at The Dirty Pocket. We are now on this TikTok thing that the kids love at The Dirty Pocket. And we are going to start churning out even more episodes. Follow us mostly on YouTube at The Dirty Pocket. But all likes, all arguments, and all subscribe hits are appreciated by us. Daniel, my friend, thank you for an awesome week. I'd like to thank McDonald's for the McRib and huge. All-American solid beverage choice there.
Absolutely. The Coke does taste different, Stacy.
I'm not gonna deny that because I know every time I get water, I get that orange taste. So
see,
I'm guessing we got some issues there in the beverage.
That's the little kid birthday party drink, that orange drink.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining for the Scout Daniel Kelly. I am Stacy Bauman. You can find him on Whatever It Takes as well. And you can find me on Gridiron Icon. We will see you next week. Keep the pocket, clean.
Hey, you came up with all sorts of new words tonight. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching.
I'm on it.